Hello, viewers. Welcome to MBTV Weekly Property Roundup. We bring to you top developments from Indian real estate space, which is going to have a lasting impact on you as consumer. I am Prasun Kumar, Marketing Head of Magicbricks, and with me is our regular guest, Jayashree Kurup, Senior Real Estate Journalist and Editor-in-Chief of MBTV. Welcome, Jayashree.
Thank you, Prasun.
So we do see markets opening up now, Jayashree, and hopefully economic activity will start picking.
Yeah. Prasun, actually, the number of COVID cases have also gone up. So it's a very faltering start that we have got. But markets are opening. There is some economic activity already on the ground.
Yes, and so let's start with some positive news that has come out for consumers. And the biggest news that has come out now for consumers is the NBCC is likely to deliver 10,000 Amrapali flats by June 2021. Now, this is probably going to bring closure to one of the longest, in a sense, suffering from a consumer point of view, and one of the longest pending issues, in real estate scene largely.
Yes.
And with Amrapali resolution happening, you have always been talking about how momentum needs to come back to the industry. And so, how do you see this, Jash?
Actually, this is very significant, Prasun, and I think the Supreme Court has had a big role to play. Last week, we talked about how the Supreme Court had directed the banks to start lending to the retail consumers. Now, what had happened was because Amrapali was not building, projects were stalled, banks were not lending, and even when the NBCC got the project, the inflows were not happening. Now that the bank, the Supreme Court, even though everything was ready, but there was nobody who directed the banks to start lending. The Supreme Court did that last week. And this week we see that NBCC has already said that 10,000 houses are going to be ready by next year, 2021. Now, this is huge because two projects they've already delivered. The ones that had small minor things like putting in the lift and those kind of things, those they've already delivered, and another 10,000 flats. This is huge, Prasun, and it should create some momentum in this market.
Absolutely, especially in Delhi NCR area where the market had absolutely slowed down because of largely Amrapali and JP issues anyway.
And Unitech, of course.
And Unitech, of course. Yeah. Right. So that's extremely positive development. Continuing with that, Maharashtra RERA now will start online hearing of compliance from first week of July. Again, a big relief to consumers in the state of Maharashtra.
Absolutely. UP was the first one off the block, and they did a phenomenally good job. MP last week, when we spoke with Mr. Anthony Disa, he said that they had also they had made a faltering start, and they said that they needed to stabilize their systems. And now MahaRERA has also said that it's going online. Karnataka RERA has also indicated that it's going online. So what really happens is that now RERA work will not be held up because of the COVID crisis. All courts are going to function online. I think there may be some hiccups when they start, but I think things are moving in that direction.
Yeah, as they say, well begun is half done.
No, let's not say that. I think it should be fully done.
No, sure, absolutely. We wish all of that. Yeah. Now, Jayashree, now moving on to industry as well. Now, Supreme Court, recently capped interest to be charged by Noida Authority on outstanding land dues to about 8%. Why is this significant, and what is in store for both developers and buyers here?
See, Prasun, these are the legacy issues that we are carrying forward. The land was given out by the Noida Authority in 2009. They had taken only 10% of the fee, and it was supposed to be amortized. They had a 2-year zero period, and after that 7 years, the developers had to pay for the land. Neither did the developers pay, nor did the authority collect. And also remember that there were two big setbacks at that time. One was the NGT order banning construction because of the Oakland Sanctuary, and the second thing was the LARR issue. So that land, the new land laws that came in. So it was a period of disruption, and nobody thought of actually getting down to the brass tacks and saying, when was that zero period? What is the period when developers don't have to pay because they were not allowed to build? All this was, they're being debated, but there was no solution to it. Now the Supreme Court has said that because of this tussle between developers and authorities, both of whom have been faltering, they were defaulters. I think what the Supreme Court has done is said that let's fix at 8%. It is some interest has to be paid, but let's fix it at 8% and not 15 to 23%. In a market that is already struggling and everyone's trying to just complete houses, if you start charging penal interest for your own problems, then the OCs will not come, registration will not happen, and finally it's the consumers who are suffering. And the justices Arun Mishra and Lalit have told both the Noida and Greater Noida authorities that they have to restructure the dues and make sure that all the projects can start paying off whatever their dues are and getting completion certificate.
Supreme Court has brought actually the interest rates close to the market rate levels, and that's how they have
that's right.
Resolved this issue.
It's only fair, I think.
Yeah, that's very, very fair.
Yeah.
Now, Jayashree, we have also been, and obviously migrant issue was, the headline in the country for quite some time, and it's really been a challenge. And as a result of that, there was also a lot of talk of providing housings to migrants and what can be done in that direction. And we did see announcements and actions happening around rental housing for migrants and all of that. Now, two news came last week on rental housing push for migrants. One was from Gujarat, another was from UP. And I'll take both of it together so that you could react to this. The Gujarat government now plans PPP route for rental housing push primarily for migrants. And in UP, the Lucknow development body is likely to rent out 1,000 LIG flats for migrant workers. So finally, you see, in a sense, this entire unorganized migrant industry, in some sense, getting organized and getting some relief, for future.
Yes, and Prasun, I'd like to first comment on the Lucknow development body. All housing boards have got some houses that were completed but never sold, and for various reasons. It could be very small, or it was the wrong location, all kinds of things. But the point is that they had this bank of 1,000, 1,500 houses which were unsold inventory. Now, what we've done is that they haven't been able to sell them, and they right now the workers need to come back, and a lot of workers have come back to the cities. Now, UP has been the state that has been the most forward-looking. It said that if these people are going to come back to their home state, let's create jobs for them in the home states, which means it's centers like Lucknow and Kanpur are going to be places where there will be a lot of migrants who will come in to work, and giving these houses out to them at a fixed fee, fixed rental, is one of the best things that could have happened. And I remember that Magicbricks worked with the government of India to evolve a rental housing plan. We did a pilot study for them across the NCR. We gave them a lot of feedback on what is required for migrant rental housing. And we're very proud that finally all that hard work has paid off, right? This as far as Lucknow goes. And
Actually, before you move to Gujarat, this is also going to provide a much better lifestyle to migrants, because they will no longer have to move to shanties, and they will be properly constructed houses, and therefore quality of life will be better.
Absolutely, Prasun. We've actually seen, everybody has been saying how India did not look after its migrants, and that's true. We didn't. We allowed them to have to walk back, and we allowed them to not have any security of tenure and things like that. This is, I think, a reaction to that, and a very quick reaction, I would say. So that states which have their first body of housing, they are putting it there. And remember that in Gujarat, what they've done is they've given the PPP route, which means that they have some 8,000 apartments constructed by the Gujarat Housing Board, which they're already picking up. And they are incentivizing the private sector to work with the government, so that, with extra FSI, you build so much rental housing and we'll give you so much FSI. And they've also given them other SOPs, their tax incentives and things like that. That's a good way of bringing the private sector in, because private sector needs money and the government sector needs the houses. So I think it's a good marriage there.
Yes. Again, also to help the industry out, we had spoken about how few states, including Maharashtra, had decided to extend the project deadlines, to up to 9 months. And now we see the West Bengal HIRA also taking the same decision. Do you see this becoming a norm across the country, and developers getting at least a 9 month relief?
Some states have still given 6 months only.
Hmm.
Maharashtra has given 9, and West Bengal is the next one to give 9 months. But by and large, all RERAs have said that they will be interested in getting the work completed, and therefore, and if they, depending on when the supply chain gets active and how soon the project registrations can happen and all that.
Hmm.
So they have given them between 6 and 9 months, and I see that most of them are going to give 9 months because there has been a difficult period. But states like Karnataka, where COVID has not taken such a huge toll, those
Yeah.
are the ones where we see a lot of construction activity happening, and I
Hmm.
see all state RERAs working very closely with the housing sector. I think
Hmm.
during this COVID lockdown, the RERAs have come into their own, and it's a very positive thing for the government, for
Yeah.
the industry. The
Hmm.
one thing that needs to be done is there are 2 or 3 small things that needs to be fixed in the law. I
Hmm.
wish the government would take that into account.
Hmm.
Only then will all RERA orders start
Hmm.
getting executed.
Yes, and let's hope that happens soon, because this has been spoken about quite a lot.
Yeah.
So, viewers, this is it for this week. Again, I just to inform you that Jayashree is doing a show on the NBCC decision to deliver Amrapali flats on this Friday. Do keep tuned into MBTV and do watch that show. Till then, take care.
Bye bye.